It's kind of ironic that just days after Jamie Lee Curtis called the MCU bad and then apologized for it, that she's now in a movie that's just as bad, if not worse, than your average, forgettable, modern MCU film. This, my friends, is exactly why you should not throw stones if you are about to be in a really glass house. And to think, just last week I was defending Jamie Lee Curtis. Let's discuss.
I watch so you don't have to.
Before I get started, I'd like to kindly ask that you hit the like button and please subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.
Come on. Do it. Do it!
Returning to her home planet of Pandora, an infamous bounty hunter forms an unexpected alliance with a ragtag team of misfits. Together they battle alien monsters and dangerous bandits to uncover one of Pandora's most explosive secrets. I want to start this off by saying, yes, this is a video game adaptation, but no, I am not all that familiar with the source material. Someone very close to me is a big fan of the game, and I have watched him play it on occasion. So if I had to go out on a limb based on my limited knowledge on the subject, I would say that this film adaptation has only a passing resemblance to the game. Sure, on the surface level, they get things like costumes and locations mostly right. But this is a problem with most video game adaptations and why a good majority of them do not work. It becomes clear very early on that either the people involved have only a very basic knowledge of the game itself, or they set out very early on to change everything as much as they possibly could.
But why?
And I do understand that they have to alter certain things about the game to make it more cinematically appealing. But a lot of times when they do that, they tend to remove the very essence of the game, or in most cases the reason that people like the game in the first place. And again, I'm not a Borderlands expert, but that very much feels like what is going on here. Borderlands is a first-person RPG video game that's essentially all about gradually building your character, weaponry, and armor through exploration and looting. It's a very popular game type, yet when Hollywood goes to adapt those games, the results have been less than impressive. The Doom movie actually came to mind while I was watching this, and that's never a good sign. Because I mean seriously, how do you f up Doom? Scientists open a portal to hell on Mars, and chaos ensues. And I feel like Borderlands as a movie is in a similar realm of Hollywood head-scratchers.
I don't get it.
I actually think this movie's biggest problem is its PG-13 rating. Surprise, surprise. I understand the thought process that you might actually get a bigger audience that way, but if you take into consideration how well R-rated movies have done, especially recently, then that whole logic just makes no sense to me. And when you make a film like this PG-13, it kind of limits you on the amount of violence and chaos that you can show or that you should show. There is not a stitch of blood in this entire movie, and I would have never considered that a possibility, but here we are. It's even more curious of a decision when you think about how they got Eli Roth to direct it. I mean, the guy is literally known for violence, blood, and dark humor. I've called Eli Roth a one-trick pony as a director in the past, and outside of Thanksgiving, which I generally enjoyed, I still stand by that.
Not impressed.
And Borderlands does feel like him trying to venture out of his comfort zone just a little bit. But as you're watching it, you can't help but feel like he is venturing out of his comfort zone because he was forced to. This is just such a safe, by the numbers and mediocre movie, and it does absolutely nothing to sell you on the craziness of this world that a lot of gamers connected with. I mean, you see moments in the film where it feels like he wanted to go there. Like when a group of psychos attack the main group in this underground tunnel. I mean, there's bullets flying everywhere and people getting shot, but you don't really see any of it, and there's no real payoff. There's even a moment in this same scene where one of the characters is shooting these pipes on the wall, and they spew out this toxic waste that will basically burn you alive. And it would have been a perfect moment for Eli Roth to dip into his bag of tricks if this were an R-rated movie.
That makes sense.
Instead, they just kind of cut away suddenly, and it ends up being just another forgettable sequence. Another huge problem with this movie is that when it's all said and done, it's going to be going into the Hall of Shame for being one of the worst casted movies in history. These actors and actresses do not feel like they were given these roles because they were the best person for the job. It feels like they were given these roles because some executive somewhere felt like they were a recognizable enough name. A lot has been said already about Kevin Hart as Roland, but I mean seriously, are we supposed to take him seriously as this badass soldier character? I mean, Idris Elba wasn't available? What are we doing here? Another weird one for me was Cate Blanchett. Now listen, she's 55 years old and she looks and moves great for her age. But the part she is playing feels like it was written for a 20 or 30-year-old.
I'm too old for this shit.
There's an aspect to her character that involves her unlocking childhood memories and realizing her potential. And having Cate in that role just fell off to me. And it's not an ageism thing, it's more of a common sense thing. It definitely felt like a logic gap in the casting that took me out of the movie and didn't allow me to get invested in her journey. I could actually picture the pitch meeting for this movie while I was watching it. Listen guys, we need another Suicide Squad or Guardians of the Galaxy type movie, where we can inject it with some witty banter, some recognizable music, and have it feature a band of misfits just coming together. And then some random guy in the back says, hey, what about Borderlands? Brilliant! Let's get right to work. Now, the game Borderlands does have a sense of humor to it, but this movie feels like Hollywood's lazy interpretation of what that humor is. And jokes about piss and robots shitting out bullets commence. And it's nowhere near as witty or as entertaining as the movie thinks it is.
Ha ha, very funny, motherfucker.
Claptrap is mildly amusing for the first 10 minutes or so that he is on screen. But he wears out his welcome pretty quickly to the point that you are willing to just lump him in with all the quirky side characters that we see in modern movies all the time that weigh those movies down. Bottom line, you can't help but feel like Borderlands is another missed opportunity when it comes to video game adaptations. Another sad attempt at the Hollywoodification of the gaming industry's most beloved stories. It's getting to the point where I'm starting to realize that certain things are better left in the video game medium. This was such a nothing movie to me that left almost no impression on me. With its paper-thin plot, awkward characters, and blatant disregard for the general spirit of the game that it's adapting, perhaps if I was a bigger fan of the games, I might have felt enough to actually get angry by this. But at the end of the day, I really just didn't give a shit about anything. And this movie pretty much made me feel like I was wasting my time, which is never a good feeling. And that's why I'm going to give Borderlands the Disgusted Ian Malcolm.
That is one big pile of shit.
Y'all be cool. Right on.